July 29, 1945. The war is almost over. You are a sailor on the USS Indianapolis, and you've just completed the most secret mission of the entire war. Your ship carried a single crate to a tiny island called Tinian. Inside that crate, the core components of the atomic bomb that will end World War II. Your part is done. You head for the Philippines. No escort. No one is watching. On this route, the Navy doesn't log arrivals, so if you vanish, no alarm will sound. A little past midnight on July 30th, a Japanese submarine spots you. 2 torpedoes. The ship splits apart. 1,195 men aboard. The Indianapolis sinks in 12 minutes. About 300 men go down with the ship. The other 900 make it into the water. Now here's where it gets worse. There are no life rafts for everyone. The water temperature is 85 degrees, warm enough that you won't die of hypothermia. Unfortunately, the Philippine Sea is one of the most shark-populated stretches of ocean on Earth. And the first night, the sharks arrive. Oceanic whitetips. They come in the darkness and they don't leave. They circle. They strike. Men are pulled under. Men watch other men disappear. Survivors report that the attacks were worst at dawn and dusk. Some men tried to stay still. Some tried to group together. Nothing really worked. And nobody was coming. Because nobody knew you were missing, the Indianapolis had been routed through an area where arriving ships weren't locked. A standing order existed that these warships didn't need to be reported overdue. The officer who was supposed to receive you assumed you'd been diverted. The system that was supposed to catch this failure had a gap, and 900 men floated in it. For 4 days and 5 nights. No food, no fresh water. Under the Pacific sun, men began drinking seawater. This kills you even faster. The salt pulls moisture from your cells, and you become more dehydrated as you drink. Then you start to hallucinate. Men became convinced there was an island just below the surface. Men swam down toward it. Men didn't come back up. On the 4th day, a Navy pilot named Wilbur Gwynn was on a routine anti-submarine patrol when he spotted an oil slick. He dropped lower to investigate. Then he saw them. Dozens of tiny figures in the water, some waving, some completely still. Life jackets that had been keeping men afloat for 4 days were waterlogged and failing. Sharks still circling, men barely conscious under the brutal Pacific sun. He radioed in, not because he was looking for survivors. He wasn't. He just happened to be there. Rescue ships arrived within hours, but for hundreds of men, hours was too long. They had made it through 4 days of sharks, dehydration, hallucinations, and open ocean only to die within sight of help. By the time the last survivor was pulled from the water, only 316 men were still alive. In 1946, the captain of the USS Indianapolis, Captain Charles McVay III, became the only U.S. Navy captain in history to be court-martialed for losing his ship in combat. He was found guilty of hazarding his ship by failing to zigzag. Despite testimony from the Japanese submarine commander himself said that it wouldn't have mattered. Other captains who lost ships in the war were never charged. Some had made far worse mistakes. McVay was the only one. Many in the Navy believed he was being held responsible for a system failure that had nothing to do with him. The missing reports, the standing orders, the gap nobody had bothered to close. None of that was his fault. But someone had to be blamed, and he was the one left standing. His own crew was outraged. The man who sank them wrote letters in his defense. None of it changed the verdict. For the rest of his life, McVay received hate mail. Thousands of letters, some from children who had learned about the Indianapolis in school and blamed him for what happened. McVay died in 1968, and Congress didn't clear his name until 2000. Decades too late, the Indianapolis completed her mission. The bomb she carried killed 80,000 people in an instant. The men who delivered it spent 5 days being eaten alive in the ocean because nobody bothered to notice they were missing. They were heroes by morning. By evening, they were just men in the water. And the system that failed them didn't just move on. It found someone to blame, punished him for 30 years, and only admitted the truth once almost everyone who lived through it was already gone. Now here is all the real images. This is the USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser, 610 feet long. Nearly 1,200 men called her home. This is Tinian Island, where she delivered the components for the bomb that would end the war just days later. And this is the open Philippine Sea, over 4,000 feet deep in places, hundreds of miles from the nearest help. If you were one of them, would you have made it?